8 things that I did not think was important in retirement that are. Okay. My name's Joe. I've been retired 6.5 years, sharing my journey to help you make better decisions, perhaps retire a year or two earlier than you thought was possible. Now, the first 7 of these are non-financial. The 8th one is financial, that I have actually broken down into 11 uh, things that I didn't think were that important financially, but are a big deal now in my retirement planning. I'll leave a timestamp for that financial section if you want to jump to that. So number 1 is having a purpose, having a reason to get out of bed. The honeymoon and vacation aspect of retirement will start to fade about 4 months. That's what it did for me, and my retirement group confirms that it's around the 4-month period. You know, it could be just helping family, helping a neighbor. It can be learning, volunteering. It could be a project. It could be home maintenance. It could be yard maintenance. It could be your garden. But some reason to say, I've got something to do today. Not that you have to get it done today. You got an infinite timeline. You never know when you're going to pass, but you're not pressured to get something done today. If something better comes up, you can do that tomorrow. Golf with friends or something like that. But purpose is a big deal. And to be honest, part of this YouTube channel is that for me, I'm helping people. I mentor a couple of people. I'll talk about that in a second. But having a purpose, passing on knowledge to another generation or to peers to make their lives a little bit better. Number 2, health maintenance. This was one of the biggest surprises for me that, oh my gosh, I love retirement and I love the freedom. But how long is this going to last? And how long am I going to have a health span? How long is my health span going to be? Which is different than lifespan. Exercise, diet, nutrition, sleep, doing the preventative maintenance, going to your doctor for a physical, blood test, all those things. My health span, it's not all up to me, but I don't want it to be my fault. Number 3, relationships. I value relationships. I hate to say this, but more now than I did when I was working. Working, I was driven for accomplishment. Relationships, yeah, family was important. I don't want to, I'm probably not doing a good job of explaining this, but family was important, friends were important, but I was driven to accomplish. Now that you remove that drive to accomplish, family goes to another level. Okay, maybe that makes sense to you. Number 4, daily routines. Gosh, I couldn't wait to get rid of my electronic calendar, but from work. But guess what? It's back. I do have things in my electronic calendar. There may be 4 or 5 things a week. That could be a busy week, okay? Where I would have 4 or 5 things in the morning on Monday when I was working. But my daily routine, first thing I do is I get up and exercise in the morning. And that exercise, cool down, shower, all that takes me to at least 10 o'clock in the morning. And it makes me feel great the whole day when I go through that routine. I am off when I don't have my morning stretches, my morning exercise, my meditation time, my time to think, time to listen to podcasts. It's very important to me to have that routine. And then, my wife and I have dinner, and then there's a cool down. I've just started something, no social media, no YouTube, no Facebook, nothing after 6 o'clock. And that routine is proving very valuable. I've been doing this for 2 weeks now. Just freeing my mind from chaos and stress that the algorithms are throwing information at you and dopamine at you to get you excited and keep you scrolling. Perhaps I was a little bit addicted to social media. So I'm just 2 weeks in, but so it's been interesting. Let me know your story along those lines if you're doing anything interesting. Learning and curiosity, man, this has gone crazy for me. I have a retirement group. where we get together on Fridays and talk about just current events and what's happening in each other's life, what you're doing around Medicare or health insurance and investing and all kinds of things. But I also have a history group that gets together. We're studying historical figures and just different concepts. For this month is cryptocurrency. It's something none of us own, but what's going on? What's the history of it? Just deep dive into that. But a lot of what we study are presidents. Like the Vietnam War was an example of an event. George Washington's an example of a president. The Civil War, Revolutionary War. MacArthur was last month. So I just love learning. I spend easily a couple hours a day on YouTube on some of it. I was just listening today to the bombing of Tokyo, in Japan by Major Doolittle in April of 1942, and how that set in motion Midway, kind of accelerated Midway for the Japanese and led to their disaster there. But some fascinating things I'm learning. I love to learn. Number 7 is appreciating the small stuff. I love spending time with my granddaughter Everly, going to the zoo, playing out in the yard, swinging, teaching her to ride a bike, just being neighborly, having time to talk to a neighbor without being rushed, running into somebody at the store, at Home Depot, and talking to them for an hour versus before I'd spend 2-3 minutes because I was task focused and had a big schedule. Let's see. Oh, well, now we're into the big one, financial. These are, let's say, on financial, all you need is your magic number. It's $1 million, it's $2 million, whatever, $500,000 plus your pension, whatever you got. All you need is that money and everything else is fine, right? Wrong, wrong, wrong. Here are 11 things under the financial heading that I did not think were important. Kind of blew them off. Yeah, it'll all work out. But ended up being a big deal. And I spend a lot of time on these when I'm looking at my financial plan. Number 1 is taxes. This was embarrassing. When I was working, taxes happened to me. I didn't have many choices. In retirement, oh my gosh, where your assets are located, how you pull funds out of everything, it's a big deal in taxes. And having a future view of your taxes. If you only know what your taxes are going to be or likely to be this year because of last year, you're missing a lot. What happens at RMD time? Okay, huge, huge, huge. And that's one of the main reasons I have Boldin. Just paid another $96. I'm a legacy person. $96 for my annual subscription to Boldin, and it's life-changing as far as management of taxes and how it interlocks with every other financial decision, like timing of Social Security, rates of return, inflation, all those other things. Huge. Number 2 under financial is inflation is massive. I didn't worry that much about inflation. I retired in 2019. Inflation for the previous 10 years was 2, 2.5, 3%, not a big deal. Well, when it goes up to 9%, it becomes a big deal. The problem with inflation is if it jumps up 9% in 1 year, it doesn't go back down. Those new pricing for eggs or gasoline is built in, and everything, even if it goes back to 2% inflation, it's on top of that 9. So inflation is massive, and I'll tell you, I didn't appreciate it before I retired. Number 3, unplanned expenses. People use the 4% rule. Nobody spends by taking 4% out of their assets every single year. Nobody I know of does that because you have unplanned expenses. Things happen. Dental is a big one. Okay. That's the dental expenses. Last year, I spent $12,000 on dental. Not for me, for my wife, Lisa, it just happened to be her, but unplanned things that come up, a roof leak, a car accident, all these things happen. Appliances, okay, they go bad. And related to that, number 4 is one-time expenses. You can't just put in 4% as your budget and say, oh, this is what I can spend. Well, you'll have a wedding I've got 2 weddings this year that we're contributing a lot for. You've got cars, you got an HVAC system, you got a roof on your house, a water heater, not a hot water heater, a water heater. I'm corrected on that by a lot of you folks. But these things, interrupt your expenses, and you need to plan for them. I kind of just modeled the 4% rule when I was saying, could I retire? Could I not retire? That's what I was using. And I'm learning that that's not very good at all. It's a start, but not very good at all. Number 5, sequence of return risk. God dang, you need to know what this is. If you have tough returns, bad returns, first 5, 6, 7 years of retirement, and even if you get great returns on the end and it averages out okay, that could be crippling. Look up sequence of retirement risk. If you don't know it, it's a very big deal. Timing of Social Security is number 6. Timing of Social Security, it affects so many things. It's such a great income source for me. It's adjusted for inflation, but it's a big deal as a backstop or a safety position to delay that as long as I can to get the maximum payment from Social Security in case my investments don't pay out. Also, by pushing it out allows me to do some tax planning, tax actions with lower income. I could do Roth conversions, for example. I can, take $100,000 and convert it to a Roth account, take it out of my traditional, put it in a Roth account. If I was taking Social Security, that ups my income, which would up my tax bracket. So Social Security is directly linked to tax planning. Okay. All these things are intertwined in retirement. That's what makes it so tough. Why a software package like Boldin is I can't imagine my retirement planning financially without Boldin. Couldn't do it. I would be in the dark, naive. Naive is probably the better word. I would be naive if I just did that, especially when it's so cheap. Number 7, and again, everything's related to everything. Medicare IRMA. These are your income-based supplements. So if you want to buy a supplement for prescriptions, it's based on your income. Supplement for doctors, it's based on your income. Okay, so Medicare premiums you will be paying are based on income, which affects your taxes, affects your Roth conversions, your time in Social Security, everything. It's all linked together. Boldin, again, does an exceptional job doing this graphically for you to help you make your best decisions along the way. Number 8, boy, everybody plans for, dying at 95 or 100 and put in all their plans for that. But one spouse dying early can be crippling. I found this with a gentleman just in the last couple of days. All of his plans were, looked great for when they're both living, and they both lived to like 95 was his planning. But I said to this individual, what if you die at 70? And his pension got cut in half, had a nice pension. It's dramatic. It's a dramatic impact. So make sure you're modeling one of you dying early. Outliving your money is one problem. One spouse dying early is another problem. They can lose a pension, half a pension, whatever you have, it may not be 100%. And then also, if you're married, one of the Social Securities go away. So there's a hefty pay cut when one person dies. Are they going to be okay? Make sure you model that. Easy to do in Boldin. Number 9, confidence to spend. Never even heard of this term. Never heard of it. Why would I have a problem spending money? Well, when you got monthly money coming in, hitting your checking account, you got a job, you got, you've seen your savings grow, you've seen your investments grow. That's all fine and good. Now that, oh my gosh, I'm spending money and I can see my assets going down, that's a whole different game. Okay. Confidence to spend is massive. I get confidence to spend from it's now semi-annual, once a year, once every 6 months, I go in and deep dive into my finances using Boldin, using one spreadsheet I have, used to have 10, but I got one spreadsheet that helps me manage my buckets. I look at my investments. I go into Boldin, I stress test, what are my current, inputs for inflation and rates of return, and then I change, rates of return, change inflation, make it fail. And by knowing where my plan fails, it gives me confidence that I'm going to be okay. I have buckets. I've got 10 years of expenses in bucket 1. That's net of income. So if I got some income, like from a pension, that reduces the amount that I need from my investments in bucket 1. Hopefully that makes sense. Confidence to spend is huge. Number 10, confidence to do nothing. This has not been too bad for me, but I wanted to mention it because it's a problem for a lot of people that I'm around, is when the market goes down 30%, do I panic? Do I sell? Do I say this time is different? Very big deal. I've got a plan. I feel confident in my plan. When the market goes down 30%, I say, I've planned for this. I've got 10 years. Got 10 years. I'm ready. I've studied historical bear markets and the recovery time. I'm ready. That confidence to do nothing is massive inside of retirement. I didn't plan on it being that big of a deal. And number 11 is my ability to adapt and your ability to adapt. I didn't think it would be that important, but it's fundamental to a retirement. My plan that I've created, I know that when I do my, semi-annual cadence, that it's out of date the next day. It's out of date. If the market goes down 1% or up 1%, it's out of date. But the planning is priceless because I know what the key levers are. The key levers are my expenses, knowing what inflation is, my one-time expenses, where my money's invested, how much I got in safe assets in bucket 1, those kind of things. Okay. The planning is priceless. Okay. Another thing that I noted here was, like your Monte Carlo score, say you got an 85 Monte Carlo score, that assumes you don't take any action. And folks, when the market goes down 30%, nobody has to tell me to cut back on spending. I naturally cut back on spending. I don't really have to, at least right because of how the market has done the last 6.5 years for me. But it's natural because you're like, oh my gosh, you're in this pandemic. Oh my gosh, we're not going to travel as much. Maybe we'll take a driving vacation instead of flying vacation. Maybe we'll go out to eat a little bit less. Maybe we won't replace the windows in the house. Maybe we will delay that roof one more year. It's natural to delay and to pull back. And that's your ability to adapt and thrive. Let's see. Yeah, it's just that my last comment is normally it's normal to pull back during tough economic times. So, today's video actions is how prepared are you for these 10 financial realities? Well, there's 11 now. Sorry, there's 11 financial realities that I honestly didn't think were that important. Once I got my number, and this was what a lot of folks tell me, they're just focused on their assets, what their number is. All these 11 kind of caught me by surprise that they are such a big deal now in my retirement planning process. Now, like I said, I only dive into this once every 6 months now. I don't think about these too much until that cadence of deep diving where I spend 2 to 3 hours on it. But take a look at how prepared you are. And if you say, oh, taxes, not that big of a deal, I'll worry about that when it comes, or inflation's, yeah, I'll worry about that later, one-time expenses, I'm telling you, you may be in for a big surprise. So there you go. 8 things that I did not think were important in retirement that are a big deal. This is Joe out.